Hey everyone, Angelo here, Hollywood filmmaker, greatest screenwriter in the history of the world, recovering hobo, and that last one is the topic of this video. As of roughly today, it's an end of the month, March 2023, I have now been housed for 2 years. I was homeless for 2.5 years, so I still was homeless for a longer period of time than I have currently been housed in this last stretch. Many times I wanted to go homeless again. I thought about it. I thought my roommates are making me miserable, can't deal with certain situations. It ended up being for the best, I think, but any way I would have chosen, I think it would have worked out well. It just, different decisions would have led to different outcomes that would have potentially imposed greater challenges on me in some ways. This direction I went, staying housed, put a lot of challenges on me. And I just want to talk about what it's been like, how I've adjusted to being housed, because it was a big psychological adjustment, still is. And I'm glad for that in many ways. I'm glad I'll never really feel totally adjusted to being indoors, to living in a home, because it was so elemental to be in my car and be outdoors constantly for 2.5 years, where everything I did had a very clear impact on how I felt and what outcomes I got, and nothing I needed was going to be right there for me when I needed it, other than my bed, because it was my driver's seat of my car. That actually was, something a lot better about being on the street or in my car than in a home. My car seats, two of them, were so much more comfortable than my bed. They're so much more ergonomic. Can you car makers just sell your car seats detached and let us put them in our homes to sleep in? Seriously, I slept so well, so comfortably in them. I would lean them back, get in my sleeping bag. Lying on a flat mattress, never the same. But, excuse me, there were a lot of things, obviously, that were very challenging about being homeless. And really, the biggest thing of them all is just the mind adjustment, the psychological change in going from my car to being housed, and the constant need to readjust and hone how I approach living the way I do, having a full-time job, doing my writing classes, exercising, having a social life, making sure I keep things balanced, but push hard. And it doesn't mean, forget that nonsense grind culture, grind mindset. You're only valuable if you make lots of money, all that garbage, lifestyle influencing, all that stuff. It's not about any of that. I think nobody should have to be homeless. I think everyone should be provided with quality housing, with a quality environment to live, with urbanist design in their cities and towns, meaning you can walk, you can bike, you can take transit. You don't have to drive a car if you don't need to. We can do so many things differently. Provide food for everyone. There's so much food waste. It's so mind-boggling to me how much waste there is at the grocery store and the aisles of pure poison, just soda, candies. Yeah, some that stuff's cool if you like it. Fine, so be it. It just, they know it sells, and they're hemorrhaging so much money losing food to waste that they don't want people to have. They're not paying their workers enough. They're cutting hours for workers. They're laying them off. Workers get harassed, mistreated by managers, by customers. Anyways, all that stuff. So I think we should have a world and a culture where we have racial justice and social justice and gender equity and all that stuff, and healthcare rights, things where you don't need to struggle to survive. So I do these things for me. This is my mindset, my benefit, or the benefit I get from the routine I learned being homeless, and how disciplined I became, and how it empowered me to propel myself forward and learn a whole lot about how to make myself feel well and be better. Because even after moving into my house, I had developed so many skills within myself and so much resilience. That was great. But I was still very sad a lot, troubled. I would just be angry and sad on the street, seeing people out. And even as I was making money for the first time in my life, it's like I've had money to survive. Like I've had money to get whatever food I want and basically pay for all my needs, no debt. I had a bankruptcy, so I discharged all my debt. I'm able to keep my expenses low. I don't have a car anymore. My last car was destroyed over a year ago. And I'm like, man, I could have gotten rid of my car so much sooner and saved so much money. And it just shows that things in front of you that are so, you take for granted as so simple and basic, you don't realize are actually huge impediments to you, that you just didn't think to get this out of your way. So while I was homeless, here, I'll get comfortable. I'm not doing this for the camera, I just want to lean back. I'm lit from below because the window's open and the sun is hitting the floor and the light's bouncing off the floor and making me glow. So while I was homeless, I did a bunch of things to develop a discipline. I would get up really early, like 4 or 5 in the morning. While I was working at a warehouse, I was getting up at like 1 in the morning, sometimes 12:30 in the morning. I would try and do a lot of writing. I would film videos constantly. I was trying to meet everybody I could, be as social as possible, and I still have made connections from them that are great and so valuable to me, and they changed. The nature of the relationships changed, so that whereas before it was like me trying to connect with the world, now I'm just much more, I don't ever want to say it like it's an accomplishment. It's that I do stuff constantly to try and make myself feel well. Otherwise, I'll fall into the deepest, darkest self-hatred and depression within moments, within seconds, if I don't do this stuff of getting up early, exercising, having a regimented exercise program, a certain diet, a certain mindset of getting out of my own way, learning the things I need to do. If something needs to be done that's uncomfortable, even if it's like changing my clothes, I'm like, oh, I need to put on my sweater or take off this shirt, put on an undershirt, it's too cold. Like, just do it right away. That discomfort, it's like cells growing. To me, I picture it almost like cells growing in a very ancient creature. You know, what do we call them? Ancient creatures? Some primordial form of life or early form of life, like a sea sponge or something, where the cells divide and grow and grow. It's like that's where my growth comes from. That stress, that pressure, that discomfort, and taking action on it, just like it comes from resistance. So like working out too, that resistance makes your muscles grow. So learned a lot, but like I said, one thing I've noticed is I used to be so angry and sad out and sometimes wishing I could be homeless again and miss it. I still miss it in a lot of ways, that independence. And I look back, I can't believe I didn't have a job for like a year, a little over a year and a half of that, because I did have jobs and I was working on film sets and my own projects and videos. But I had a job like the first, I forget exactly, like 6 months or 5 months maybe after I went homeless and moved into my car. And then the last 5 months or so I had a job too. Or I worked at the warehouse, and then the first 2 weeks at my current job I was still living in my car. And finally got the place I'm in now. This room changed a lot. Before it was very sparse and I didn't even know how to like do things. Like I forgot how to, like, not forgot how to cook food, I forgot I could cook food. So literally the first week I didn't use the microwave, didn't use anything, any cooking appliances. I just ate out of cans and ate my oatmeal in a thermos. I'm like, I can't believe that, but I can believe that. And after the first week I was like, oh yeah, I can use the microwave. And I'm still like fine tuning my diet, trying to learn how to eat right, how to mentally, be well, not have a unhealthy relationship with food. But I know this is a lot of topics, but this is how homelessness affected me, and it helped propel me forward in a lot of ways. There were a lot of dark points, a lot of low points, and certainly living here, I had a roommate who terrorized me. By the way, good news, she's moving out. The roommate from hell is moving out. She's terrorized us. She would just scream like a maniac. She sexually harassed me, which seriously creeped me out. That's when I started being like uncomfortable around her, and I didn't want to talk to her. And then she got worse from there. So she's been traveling and stuff, and now she's moving out. So I'm like, wow, okay, cool. That's a much better situation. Let's try not to get someone who's going to uh, terrorize us. And the apartment's clean. Like the other roommates are cool. It's very harmonious now. I got my posters up. I got some more coming because I ordered some Harold Lloyd shirts, but the fabric's awful. It doesn't breathe. And so Redbubble, they gave me a voucher for new purchases. So I have all this money on Redbubble to make purchases. So I ordered some fridge magnets and some new, not posters, but like art boards. Because at least art boards, what I realized is some of them are cheaper, but also like these, I won't be able to take them with me for whenever I move someday because it's going to damage them and stuff to peel them off and all that. So artboards you can just put up with like Velcro and stickers basically, and I'll sit up straight, and it'll make it easier to take them down. Anyways, yeah, pushed a lot. I just realized how much things are changing and how the changes. I picture it as like little cuts, like cutting. I don't know how to describe it, like cutting a potato or something. People, I'm sure, just like they've described it like cutting into clay, where it's like you're making tiny little course changes that keep getting more and more refined, and it never stops. So even now, I can say, like, there's still like I see the pattern now, and I've lived long enough to where I can see, how far I've gone and how long things have taken, and for however long I'll live, and I plan on living a long time, but how that's going to change this in front of me, this like line going in front of me that's already out there in the future, and I have to go meet it and find it, and knowing that, oh wow, the biggest challenges are going to be ahead of me. The biggest ones are ahead of me. The hell I've gone through before is nothing compared to what I'm going to go through in the future, but I'm bringing with me all that past experience almost like a coat of armor and putting it on. But it's not just armor like to shield myself, it's like my strength in a way. It's like it's what I carry with me, almost like carrying my trophies with me in a way. Like this is going to be my greatest asset going forward. I was at a show last night, Unusual Tuesdays, great show, and it was so nice to see people I knew there and meet some new people. And it was so nice, like for once I wasn't like trying to go meet everybody, and I've met a lot of people there anyways, but I was just totally fine being myself. People came up to me because I did a video. I showed my mom's Star Wars review, the remaster that Nolan Cooney did from Great Teen Vids, 14 Kids, her review of Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens, which was very funny. Got a great reaction. People were loving it. One guy, he was like sitting next to me, put his hand on my shoulder. He's like, dude, I love your mom's experience of this. I put my hand over his hand. I said, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Yeah. And the bartender asked for like the name of my YouTube channel. So what's up if you're watching? But I don't get to go out to that much. That show, it was late. Man, coming back on the metro at like 11:30 at night, I was so tired. It was kind of cold. The trains didn't run that often. I had to transfer an extra transfer because there's some maintenance going on the tracks. It took an hour to get home, which should have been a 20-minute ride. But anyways, next time I'll have more energy. I'll just ride my bike there. But regardless, it was so nice to like just be there and like I'm totally good. They had some books there. I read a little bit. One guy, he had a book of poetry that he wrote from the point of view of his cat, and it had pictures of his cat. I'm like, oh, this is so cool. And he wants to publish it at some point. I shouldn't say that just because like I don't like putting out stuff before it's ready. So anyways, no one knows who I'm talking about right now, unless you were there, I guess. But that was very cool, by the way. Thanks to that guy for showing me their poetry book, and I read a few poems from it. But just like I'm just totally good. Like I can go like say hi to someone. One guy had a mug, a drink from the bar. I just went up to him and said, hey, what are you drinking? He said, it's a hot toddy. I'm like, oh, cool. Interesting. And I saw the price of the hot toddy. It was pretty pricey. $14. I'm like, okay. That's a lot, but it's a good drink. And yeah, I was so tired I couldn't stay the whole show. No way. Came home around 1 o'clock, but it was so beautiful to be able to come home and just totally fine. And so many times in the past when I came home, I was depressed. I was like, oh, the night of fun is over. The escapism is over. and now I have to get back to my mundane, boring, lonely life. Now, not at all. I can feel that way if I don't keep at my routine and stay well and push myself and write. I love screenwriting, so writing, reading. I finally finished the complete Sherlock Holmes Volume 1. That was amazing. It was like revelatory. It changed how I write. And the last book in there is The Hound of the Baskervilles. What a great musical name, The Hound of the Baskervilles. And as I was reading, the language got more and more musical to me as I was going on. The variation in sounds, it made me think about what English is and how it's a mishmash of all these other languages. It's not even like one coherent language because the rules change, the spellings change, the pronunciations change. Anyways, so all that stuff, see, but that's right there. It's like those are new like cells popping up in the sea sponge that that grow and create this new organism. So as a result, I don't feel bored. I don't feel lonely most times. I don't feel depressed. I get situationally sad and down and encounter some difficult things. Really, I do. But times like that, I'm like, oh, they're right there if I need them. And I know they're going to be there. And it's challenging with work and my writing classes especially. There's not a big break between classes. My next class starts very soon. So I have to be very dedicated to that. And you never know how things can change. I thought, man, in a way I lost everything. I didn't truly lose everything, but I lost everything and gained it all back even better. And I think if I lose everything again, I'll gain it all back even quicker. And that puts me in a much better position to not expect things and to just let things arrive to me and just be and be well. Because again, I used to be so miserable seeing people on the street. I'm like, oh, they're having fun, they're having a social life. Now I see that. Then I saw them for a while and I almost felt like I have something you don't. I have writing. I've developed this thing that people can do all these other jobs in film and anything else. You can learn those, but you can't really learn writing unless you put everything into it and years, and you're willing to examine yourself and learn about yourself and develop parts of yourself you didn't know were there. But now I don't so much think that way or feel that way. I don't look at people that way. Now I'm just like, we're good. Like, not just we're good. It's like, they're good. I'm good. What's up? So putting yourself through a regimented discipline program that works for you, and it's not because you're trying to emulate some hustler or some guru or some dope like Gary Vee or any of these other cretins who preach that basically your money or your finances are a reflection of your worth or anything like that. It's just a matter of just me being well. And the stuff I do doesn't necessarily make me rich. My job does pay reasonably well. Again, I've never had that in my life before. And I think everyone should have that opportunity. We should have better protections for jobs, union jobs, all that stuff. Tenant protections. Anyways, a whole lot of things should be changed because I'm like, wow, like most people don't get to experience what I do now. I used to be the one wondering how come everyone else is having fun and I'm stuck home on a Friday night. I didn't realize what a beautiful thing that was and what a privilege that was to have that special space carved out for myself where I was developing myself and learning, and where, especially when I was in Virginia, I say I'm glad I'm from Virginia. I'm glad I'm not still there because I had to come to LA to be myself, but Virginia is where I developed myself. It's hard to believe. Like, I'm this transplant. I'm here in LA. It's a beautiful place. I don't get to see nearly enough of it. And I have to not put out of my mind the fact or the possibility that I will see a lot of it. I will see all over LA and California and wherever I want to go. And I'm going to need to be the living witness that people see to understand things like how to make living better here, like, well, I'm cracking up a little bit, like ending homelessness, getting everybody a home. Oh, excuse me. Getting everyone quality medical care, quality nutrition. Food is like medicine. You need quality food. Getting people mental health care. Decarcerating. Jail, prison does not work. If it worked so well, we wouldn't have to keep imprisoning so many people. All kinds of problems. And then there's the fact that our cities are so disconnected, so spread apart. There's housing sprawl, which creates this elitist mindset in people, and it segregates cities, and it puts burdens on the poor and impoverishes them further and extracts wealth from them and transfers it to the rich, all that kind of stuff. So that's a big difference between me and a lot of these dope gurus who say you just make money. That's like an indicator of how good you are, how much you help people. I'm like, in reality, you're exploiting a lot of people, and we're all limited by the system we live in, but we can work to change it, and we can work to change ourselves. So a lot of changes. Riding a bike was huge for me. Also, I'll just throw that in quick. But getting rid of my car when, well, I had to, it was destroyed in a hit and run, was so great. The greatest thing for me, lifting of this burden. I started learning more about transit. I started walking around my neighborhood. I didn't realize how much was in my neighborhood. I'm like, oh my goodness, I had no idea what was around the corner. There's all kinds of transit opportunities here. There's all kinds of metro bike stations, docking stations, the metro train itself, buses, and their scooters as well. I used to think people who rode those are crazy. They seem so dangerous. Now I'm like, oh, they're great. A little pricey. They add up. But we need more of that. We need more of these opportunities to connect people, to make people have more leisure time to pursue the things they love and develop the things they love and have a healthy relationship with themselves and others and the world around them and their jobs. And I learned a lot of that from being homeless. I changed so much. And it's always a challenge. You know, there were times I was really sad and I was like, I want to be homeless again. That was elemental to me. That was like feeling like I was me. I was myself. I was loving it in a way. I wanted to be homeless, even though I also had to. It's like at a certain point, I was broke. And then once I was homeless, I'm like, well, now it's a lot harder to get unhomeless again. And there were dangerous times too. Number of dangerous times. And I'm sure a number of times I didn't quite realize the danger I was in. I heard neighbors saying, yeah, they saw people scoping out my car while I was sleeping in it because they wanted to break into it, but when they saw me sleeping in it, they went by. A lot of things, a lot of wild wake-ups, police chase, car crash, people screaming, guy threatening me, guy trying to get into my car. He wasn't like actively like breaking in, but he was obviously high, and he was like, yo, knocking on my door while my cardboard was up, and I'm like, what? And he's like, I'm looking for my homie. I'm like, leave me alone. I wasn't that tough about it. I was like, leave me alone. But I wanted to say, is it worth getting, bam, over it? But I didn't want to make him think he has no choice but to fight me. It's like you have to provide the other person the out. And all this stuff also, it makes it, now that I've been able to cut away, like chip away at all this stuff about me, and I'm still very much like seeing all the progression yet to be made, it makes it so much easier to interact with people and read people and deal with them, and not read them like, I'm above them or anything, but just understand who they are, listen for who they are and where they're coming from. And that, I think, is a quality that's seriously lacking in people. It would make hiring better. It would make relationships better. And admittedly, that's a hard thing to navigate. I've had a few problems there, but hey, find your path the way you find it, by walking through it. Anyways, but it would be such a great help for understanding how to keep us safe mentally, physically, to be able to read people and read ourselves better and understand the situations we're in. And we got to rethink, so many systems, the way society works, the way jobs work, the way housing works, all that stuff. But anyways, so that was all something that homelessness was able to reflect back at me. And I'll finish with this. The most beautiful moment I can remember being homeless, and there were a number of them. When the shutdown started with COVID, and I was very scared because I was like, is society going to collapse? And I was literally just scared, is someone going to carjack me on the street because they're so desperate and they need a car and people lose their jobs? I didn't know what was going to happen. We've entered this whole new world. There was a supermarket in the valley, and they had a little outlet, an electrical outlet in front, in this massive parking lot at Burbank Airport. It was Vallarta Supermarket, this Mexican grocery store that I would shop at a lot. I kind of miss shopping there. And it was so great to be there because I could plug in my phone. Now the libraries were closed. Starbucks was closed. I couldn't plug in my phone to charge it anywhere except in my car. And so at night, I would plug it in there, and just I could sort of set it on. There was like a little shield or something over the outlet, and just stand there and watch the sunset. And it was so beautiful just to stand there and appreciate it and see this big sky and just be outdoors charging my phone. And I would do it in the mornings too. So I'd get up early, work out in the parking lot or wherever at the park, and then charge it there. And I'd have to charge it pretty early because by the time the store was getting ready to open, now they had changed all the protocols for the store. So people had to line up in spots on the sidewalk where I was, and I didn't want to be standing there and then people are thinking, am I in line? Am I not? I would let them know like I'm not, but it was kind of awkward. So I knew I had to get my as much charging done as early as I could before the line started. But it was just so beautiful to stand there at night, and I made videos of that. I haven't looked at those in a while. I haven't looked at them in years, but so this is early 2020, and I was not coming out yet. I was still badly in a depersonalized, derealized state. I had a relapse of depersonalization, derealization disorder that took like a good full years to like really sort of solidly get out of. I've been better than ever and learned techniques for grounding myself, being in my body, being well, being healthy. And I still have to keep doing them every day. They're never something that's like, oh, that's done. But it was so beautiful seeing the sun come down. Oh my goodness, just what a great experience. Even with everything I was going through, I'm like, that I wouldn't trade for anything. That was so invaluable. So, there's good, there's bad about it, there's the dangerous about it. No one should have to do it, but I wanted to, and I'm glad I did. I knew I wanted to. I planned on it going homeless because I wanted to be a filmmaker. There's no way I could get it done and work my job, not making much money, paying rent, going broke, adding up bills to my credit cards. And I knew I had to live more actively to do something and get stuff out of my way. I'm glad I did it. I would do it all over again. But for other people, it's not necessarily something you should have to do. There should be options where it's like we're able to be funded in pursuing the things we love and to push ourselves and make time in our lives for these things. It was like for a while I had no room in me for anything good. I just felt my life was so sad and miserable and depressing, and why did I get sick all those years with DPDR, and it's just like I'm lost. And it took a long time to build up that resilience and strength in me and the discipline and the insight, and that I'm still seeing this huge, progression in front of me that I'll have to do. But that's what homelessness did for me. So now being housed for 2 years, it's been a lot of changes, and I can see all the changes are yet to come. There's still so many more, but I'm glad for it. And now I have to get back to work. I have to get reading, writing, and I'm gonna make some tea. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think. Bye.